Does working out, things like running, lifting weights, make you lose weight? Yes, but mostly no. The most important thing is consistency, because for most people, it's fast and easy to gain weight, but super slow and grueling to lose weight. You want to make the losing part less grueling, and you want to make the gaining part not actually happen at all, so that way you never have to go back to the cutting. If you don't have a clear, big picture of how these things work with losing weight, then like most people, you're going to wind up failing and quitting, or at the very least have roller coaster weight. Winter bulking, summer cutting, to where you probably still don't even get the body that you want. You just get a little closer to it. It's so difficult to stay motivated getting to the gym and lifting weights if you have the mindset of, I'm going to go do sit-ups so that way I have visible abs. I'm going to do arm exercises so that I lose bat wings. Or I'm going to run a lot and, get the body that I want. I'll be so lean after I run a bunch. You have to lose fat that covers your abs, or lose fat that covers whatever muscle for you to achieve the aesthetic that you want. Having a clear understanding of how the body is very important. We have a finite amount of bones that are covered by a finite amount of muscles, which are covered by a not finite, constantly changing amount of fat. You can't make more muscles. You can only make the muscles that you already have bigger. Likewise, you can make your fat cells smaller by losing fat, which will then show those muscles. So if you make a bunch of muscle gains underneath a certain amount of fat, you're really not going to be able to see them, at least not in any significant way. It's impossible to spot reduce fat. That's not how the body works. Knowing precisely how the body works makes everything you want to do easier, because you understand things and it helps keep you correctly motivated. If you gain a pound of fat, it's going to be spread out throughout your body in a predetermined ratio, depending on your genetics. Likewise, if you lose a pound of fat, you're going to lose that proportionately throughout your body in that same predetermined amount. In order to actually see things like your abs, the results that you care about, you're going to have to lose enough fat for it to start mattering, because places like our stomachs, our butts, our thighs hold so much more. So when you lose 1 pound of fat, for example, you might lose whatever amount of ounces here, ounces here, ounces here, ounces there. And because of an illusion, people always say like, oh, I see it in your face, you lost all this weight, because, an ounce or whatever amount shows more in this place, whereas an ounce or two in your stomach is not going to matter. Knowing this is important for motivation, because you'll know, okay, I just have to keep consistent and eventually it will come, as opposed to working out really hard, doing all these exercises, biking, running, this and that, and then going, oh, I don't have abs, it's not working, I quit. To keep motivated with things like running, bicycling, lifting weights, doing any kind of workouts, any sports that you like, you first have to recognize what they do for you exactly and what they don't. This way, when you don't see the results that those things are not supposed to give you, you don't go, oh, wow, this isn't even working, why am I even doing this? Not seeing results you think you're going to get is totally going to drain your motivation and your enthusiasm to do something. On the other hand, when you see the results that you're supposed to see from those things, that will further your motivation and make you want to continue doing them. So let's talk about what each of these things is for. Lifting weights is for you to get strong. It's for you to build strength, build a more balanced body. By that I mean that your joints don't hurt, you have, good posture, your joints are in good health, make you feel younger, make you feel more athletic. The more you do it and the better you do it, of course, the more muscle you'll have. So the other reason for lifting weights is, of course, to build muscle. When you run, you should be focused on how to improve your running, the form of running, getting better at running, so that way you can run further and faster over time. The better you get at it, the easier it will be to run longer amounts. So you should be running to lower your resting heart rate, to make your heart stronger, which makes you a healthier individual. The stronger your heart is, the longer you're going to be able to run or bike or do other activities, basically everything. If you think about running this way, it will help motivate you to be consistent with it. Most people look at running when they first start to change their appearance, to look better. So they start running a bunch, they feel miserable the whole time they're doing it. 2 weeks later, they still look the same. Why would you continue doing it? That miserable feeling you get when you're running and you're tired, you're out of breath, you just feel like, why would I want to do this? So instead of that, what you should be doing is thinking of how to improve your run, how to get better at running, recognizing that it's going to take time, like maybe a year, and work towards that with a running goal, not an appearance goal. Because just running is not going to change your appearance. Not significantly anyway. So when it comes to biking, it's the same story. You should be thinking about how to improve your form with biking, how to go about biking the right way so that you don't hurt your joints, hurt your knees, and eventually getting more comfortable with it so you can bike further and faster. Of course, biking like running will also improve your cardio, which will then improve your ability to do everything else, athletic-wise. When you start trying some new sport, same thing. You should do that sport to get better at that sport, improve at that sport so it will make you better in the future at that sport. It's also another athletic activity, so it's not just monotonous running all the time and biking all the time. This is just another thing that is going to burn calories, help you be fit, and eventually be a part of the reason why you have the aesthetic you want. If you start slow at these things and continue with them, before long you will start to become exceptional at them. And the only way to do that is to be consistent. And the only way to be consistent is to start slow with them and not get in over your head. Focus more on getting better at it rather than comparing yourself to some top athlete in that sport and go, oh, I have to run a marathon. Just run a half mile well. The goal is to become exceptional at these things. You don't have to be a champion. You don't have to be better than everybody in your state, but there's a certain level, that you can get to in any of these things. When you become somewhat exceptional at lifting weights, running or biking or whatever sport you do, that's when they'll start to make a difference in your appearance and ability to lose weight easily, because they will start to amount to a significant amount of calories. Running a half mile and feeling terrible about it is probably only going to burn, someone who's my size, like 80 calories. Doesn't matter how miserable you feel doing it, it's going to burn like 80 calories. If it doesn't make you feel miserable, it's also going to burn about 80 calories. So you're better off getting good at running rather than just trying to run to immediately change your appearance, because eventually you'll be able to run 5 miles and that will burn something like 600 or 700 calories, which is now something that you'll notice when you're eating. Like, okay, I have this extra 700 calories. I can eat this much more or whatever to satiate myself. So basic calorie information, 3,500 calories is a pound. That means that if you eat, say, a 500 calorie deficit every day, you would lose a pound every week, which also means that if you're someone who needs to lose, say, 50 pounds, that it would take a year. You didn't click on this video for me to pat you on the back or tell you what you want to hear. Going into this, knowing the truth is a lot better and more likely that you will achieve success, because you're going to recognize what needs to be done, and then you won't lose motivation or enthusiasm when things don't happen in an unrealistic amount of time. This is why consistency and long-term thinking is really the only way to achieve what you want to achieve when it comes to aesthetics. Someone who needs 50 weeks of 500 calorie deficit is going to give up. They're going to give up running. They're going to give up everything because it's too long. That's a long time to just be miserable. On top of that, looking exactly the same. Compare that with someone who tracks their calories, knows they need to eat 2,800 calories a day to maintain. So with 500 deficit, that would be 2,300. They start running a half mile a few times a week. They start lifting weights a couple times a week. When they go to the gym to lift weights, they don't go there thinking, I'm going to lift weights and I'm going to come out jacked. They go in thinking, okay, I have to get better. How do I deadlift without hurting myself? How do I squat properly with good form? Et cetera, et cetera. There's a zillion workouts. That's not the video for this, but they bike a mile or so, a few times a week. As you see here on the calorie app, this person's half mile run only burned 70 calories. Their mile bike ride or 2 mile bike ride burned 80 calories. Their hour or so gym session probably burned like 100 calories. So now to have a 500 deficit, instead of eating 2,300 calories from the 28 on a day where you don't really do anything, they can eat 2,582. That's not a huge difference. Someone who is forced to eat only 2,300 calories to lose weight and then now gets to eat 2,580 calories to still lose weight is not going to feel, they're going to feel like they're missing out on food. They're missing out on things they want to eat and enjoy. But if they recognize these numbers and know the long-term goal, they'll be proud that they did these workouts, proud that they were consistent, and just take it on the chin that, okay, I get to eat, 200 or whatever more calories, and they think long-term. Now, after a year, if they've been consistent and they've been focusing on improving their running, improving their biking, improving their weightlifting, not worrying about how they look after each session, being unfazed after 2 weeks of consistent running and lifting weights, that they don't have a GQ model body, and instead are constantly being mentally rewarded with number gains when it comes to the running, gains when it comes to the biking, gains when it comes to the weight. Oh, I used to deadlift 150 pounds. Now I can deadlift 160. And they're excited about that. They realize they run a little bit faster with the same effort, or it's easier for them to run a whole mile without having to stop, and then a mile and a half and 2 miles, etc. Now, a year later, they might be running 5 miles at a time. They might be biking 20 miles at a time. As far as the gym session, unfortunately, lifting weights is not the best way to burn calories, but it's still important because you see those gains later when your maintenance calories per day just goes up a little. So the weightlifting itself might not burn that much calories. So in this example, it'll stay the same at like 100. Your 5 mile run now is going to add around 700 calories. Your 20 mile bike ride is going to add like 800. Your weightlifting session, for example, would be like 100 calories. But also notice you start off with 2850, I'm guesstimating here, but in this example, now you have 2850. You have just 50 extra calories that day, even if you don't work out. Plus the 100 I'm counting for the exercise itself, the weightlifting itself. But now to be in a 500 calorie deficit, you'd be eating around 4,000 calories rather than the previous 2,500 calories. What used to be a tough half mile run that you hated, what used to be a tough mile or two bike ride, is now probably a not so bad 5 mile run and 20 mile bike ride, because you spent your time getting good at these things. So now they're a lot more effortless. There's also walking, which I haven't mentioned yet, but that's another, considering the effort, pretty easy way to rack up some calories, especially if you're like, oh, I'm already going this way, I'll just walk there instead of drive. But in conclusion, even if it's a lot harder to try to maintain that 500 calorie deficit with your only half mile runs because you're a beginner and you're just starting out, at least you'll know in your head, okay, I'm doing the right thing, I'm on the right track. It might take me a year, it might take longer, it might take less, but I know I'm on the right track, and you're looking forward to soon this will get a lot better. My calories will be a lot better. Better as far as the eating is concerned. You can eat more things that you like because you can run 5 miles and add a lot more calories to your day, as opposed to the half mile, which is going to be mostly miserable, not feel much better than your future year's 5 mile run, but yet it will basically give you 70 calories, which is like nothing, a quarter of a cookie. So instead of looking at it like, man, like this isn't worth it, I don't want to run and be miserable and feel horrible just, for this like minuscule amount of calories. Instead, you're looking into the future of, I run so that I can get better at running later, and it will eventually add up, and I'll be burning tons of calories super easy. I remember, I used to think this way. I used to run sometimes. I'm like, I'm going to run. I'm going to get the body I want. I would run. I'd be pretty consistent. No difference. Then I'd be like, screw this. I don't want to do this anymore. I didn't even think that. I try to be a hardworking person, have that hardworking mindset, but subliminally it was happening. I'm just like, skipping runs because why would I continue them when nothing that I want to happen is happening? I never ran because I'm like, oh, I want to be good at running. I love running so much, so I'm just going to run. No, I ran for aesthetics, and I think a lot of people are in that boat. So you shift that thinking to, I'm going to run to be good at running. I'm going to bike to be good at biking, which also comes with a lot of benefits, by the way, besides calories. When you bike a lot, it actually has the potential to become transportation because you can get pretty far on a bike. I do a lot of my own shopping on a bike. I'll go to the store with my bike, and these miles add up. In my example with that 20-mile bike ride, it doesn't have to be like a 20-mile workout. It could be like 3 here, 5 there, 2 here, and then, okay, I still want to do more for exercise, so I'll just do a straight 10. And next thing you know, you added up a lot more, as if you just went to do 20 straight and you were tired and maybe mentally beaten up by doing a 20-mile bike ride. You biked a couple miles to the store to get groceries, you biked a mile to your friend's house, then they start adding up. And the better you get at biking, which is why it's important to come at this with a get better at biking, get better at running, get better at lifting weights. The better you are at biking, the more comparable it is to taking the bus somewhere or an Uber or whatever, because you actually get places quite quickly on a bike when you start averaging more than 14 miles an hour and constantly seeing the results of your work, the actual results you're supposed to be looking for. You're better biking, you're better running. That's going to make you enthusiastic about continuing because you're like, yeah, I'm supposed to continue running because I'm getting faster at running. I'm getting faster at biking. It's so easy for me to bike 20 miles, or it's so easy now I can deadlift 300 pounds, and that's really like making my muscles bigger, and which is in turn giving me more calories to eat next year. After all of this, once you finally do reach your goal weight because you've maintained this deficit for long enough to get the body that you want, once you are able to eat 500 more calories a day in this example, it's going to feel like the greatest thing ever because you're used to running 5 miles for your 700 calories and biking this and walking that, but you'll just, now that you have your body that you want and you're at the weight that you want, you just start eating, say, 500 more calories, give or take. Mind you have to take into consideration that when you are lighter, your body burns less calories and needs less calories, so it's probably not actually going to be 500 more calories. But also to compare apples to apples, as you're losing weight, you might have to readjust this calorie amount, and 2,800 will become 2,750, so 500 from that is less than 2,300, etc., etc. At some point when you're close to your body goal, but you're not there yet, maybe in this example, you would be, instead of 2,800, like 2,600. So 500 from that is 21. And then all of a sudden, once you're at your weight goal, you can just add that 500 back. Now you'll be eating 2,600, and it's going to feel like a vacation every day with no extra work. Now at your goal weight, from here on out, it's basically just going to be a downhill battle because you're constantly going to get better at running, biking, this and that, maintaining your weight. You're also, side note, going to get better at tracking calories. So you'll be better at finding foods that you like and feeling more and more comfortable eating less calories. Mind you, I'm mostly speaking to people who are probably overeating like myself. I was eating a ton of calories and then thought, how am I ever going to eat, 3,000 calories a day or something like that, when I'm eating like 4 and 5 and being super happy about it. So the more you track, the better you get at tracking. So I got to squeeze that into this video as well. Not only should you do running and biking and lifting weights with the mindset of getting better at them rather than just for the results, you should also start tracking your calories with the mindset of, I'm going to get better at tracking. I'm going to get better at choosing foods that I like, better at upgrading my food choices. So the first couple of months, you might not lose any weight because you might track and then be like, okay, I got to get 2,300 calories net for losing weight, and you'll just keep not getting it. You'll try and you'll just be uncomfortable about it and like, oh, I want to eat this, I want to eat that. You have to just take those on the chin. It's okay. That's fine. Start looking for the replacements and upgrades, things that you actually enjoy eating, until eventually you will just come to a certain amount that you're happy eating. Right now, whether you know it or not, there's a certain calorie amount that you pretty much feel comfortable eating every day, right? You eat whatever you want. You have the ice cream, you have this, you have the that, and there's a certain calorie amount you eat probably about every day. And when you eat that amount, you don't go, oh my God, I'm missing out. I got to eat way more. You're happy. Instead of just cutting immediately, you can look for different foods so that way that calorie amount that you're happy with is actually just smaller. Until you might get to a point where you're like, man, I need more calories to sustain myself after all this running or this or that, so I got to start eating more things, and you might not even be really craving those things. That's a good place to be. It's a downhill battle because your bikes will get longer, your runs will get longer, there will just be more and more calories, you get better at what food you eat, and you'll just be so content at your maintenance weight that you'll never gain weight. And then if you never gain weight, you never have to go through being in a deficit again. I'll also be making a video soon about how I incorporate things like biking and walking into my day so that they don't feel like exercise. For example, how the potential of biking is so good that it can really become somewhat a main transportation to get places. And then it really doesn't feel like you're working for these calories because you're just going where you want to go and you're getting there in a decent amount of time because biking has that much potential. Same with walking. There's nothing more motivating to me anyway than this doesn't feel like a chore. This is just something I'm going to do anyway. Well, happy journey becoming ultimate. Enjoy the journey, and I'll see you on the next video.